Hello to everybody watching this video, not my viewers because I don't have that yet. I'm gonna start with one thing. I know this video will probably anger a lot of people since Leon S. Kennedy is a universally loved character for some unknown reason. But seeing people defend this fraud in TikTok comment sections just doesn't sit right with me. I will also only rate Leon from Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 4 Remake, and Resident Evil 9, since those are the only games I've played, personally. I would like to start off with one of the smaller problems. You see, Leon, terrible writing Kennedy, does not really have any flaw anywhere at any time in those games. He always does what is practically the best choice, the best decision. And if I hear one more person say, oh, but his trauma from Raccoon City, I will blow my brain out with a double barrel shotgun. You see, what is a flaw? A flaw is something that would limit his effectiveness at completing another one of his cakewalk Hollywood action movie missions. At this moment, his trauma is simply cosmetic. It's like wearing sunglasses in winter. Only stupid people do that. One way I could see his trauma from Raccoon City be turned into a real flaw is his relationship with Louis in Resident Evil 4. After getting to know he's from Umbrella, he says like half a sentence to this random lady on the phone who is there for the whole game. I think she's from the government and her name is Hannigan, I think. What I think is that Leon should despise Louis. He should not help Louis. He should not cooperate with him. He should be his number one hater, even when it's beneficial for both parties or just for him and Ashley. He should not want to team up with him. He should always keep an eye out on him, just like the relationship between Deacon and Schizo in the Lost Lake chapter of Days Gone, where they are basically allies, they are working for the same camp, but they are like subtle enemies. This is just a very rough and possibly out of character scene, but Leon could be the reason behind Louis's death, not necessarily directly, so that he could get the key for the lab without having to trust an Umbrella scumbag when Ashley and himself get worse because of Las Plagas. And this could spark a conflict between Ashley and Leon because she would suspect him for Louis's death. And I don't mean like he shoots him with a gun in the back of his head. I mean, maybe he takes just a second too long to save him. Maybe when Crozer impales or stabs Lewis, he could save him. Maybe he could bandage his wounds. But maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just lets him go. This could be very interesting, I think. Next up is something you could apply to Resident Evil as a whole. The characters are barely faced with any hard choices. When has a Resident Evil character, especially goddamn Leon, chosen to sacrifice something for another thing? I could not remember one situation like this. Maybe Ethan Winters. This could also be very easily linked to the flaw problem. Let's look at this rough sketch of a scene I made in my mind like in 10 minutes. That probably already has too much good writing for a Resident Evil fanboy to comprehend. When Ada Wong gets knocked out by this Annette person or whatever her name was, she's sitting unconscious in this pile of trash. Now the Resident Evil writers have missed out on an awesome opportunity here. Giving Ada Wong the bracelet in this section was unnecessary. What would be better is giving it to Leon. This way he could go to the rail car that would transport him to the Nest laboratory without Ada. But he chooses to save her because of his kindness. We could bump this up even more with the rail car being on the verge of getting destroyed. Maybe it barely holds. Maybe one of the one of the lines is already cut. So it really feels like he either goes to the Nest Lab or saves Ada Wong. This way we strengthen one of his core traits. He always wants to save people he trusts, because he's a good boy. We give him a hard choice, which is what builds character. A choice. Another thing about Leon is that he almost never fails. And I cannot really remember one situation where him failing actually led to something. You see, even if he fails, nothing comes out of him failing. He fails at destroying the G virus in Resident Evil 2 Remake. But the G virus or T virus, I don't remember, it never comes back as far as I know. So the G virus wasn't destroyed, but it never comes back. Like, then what is the point of making him fail? Then the outcome is the same. I don't understand it, but yeah, when he fails, and he barely fails, nothing, him failing never does actually anything. Uh, it leads to the same outcome as if he just won. I will expand on the choice part here a little bit more. You see, even if Leon does any choice, it still barely ever has consequences. If nothing ever gets worse in a story, if nothing valuable ever is lost because of a character, they don't affect the story. Or the story is about constant growth and victory, which in that case, the story becomes more boring than the average my movie ideas TikTok slideshow with movies that are based off of a plot twist at the end. Damn, do I hate those! And I hate people who cheer them on these ideas even more. So to pump this idea up even more, we make it so the rail car breaks after he saves Ada. And now they have to find a different way into the lab. This is pretty much a near perfect fix for nearly all problems with this scene. He's faced with a difficult choice. He either saves Ada or goes to the nest. His decision has consequences because the railcar breaks, and his kindness and desire to save everybody becomes his flaw. And on top of that, his failure has consequences. 4 times fix combo. Another problem is his incredible amount of plot armor in Resident Evil 2. You see, there's a good plot armor and there is bad plot armor. What differentiates good from bad is whether the character has to do something themselves apart from the help they receive from others. One example of shitty armor in Resident Evil 2 is the scene where Mr. X grabs Leon in the parking garage and is about to choke him to death, and Ada just saves him with a van. I would fix this beautifully terrible scene in one way. Before she uses the van, she tells Leon to last a little bit longer. Maybe you are being chased to death by this war machine, but 10 more seconds is all I need. He stabs him in the eye, destroying it permanently, or maybe he stabs him in the hand, maybe he cuts his hand off. No, I'm not sure, but he has to injure him in some way so that his grip on his neck loosens, so he doesn't choke Leon. Leon just has to do something, injure him in some way. Man, I think stabbing him in the eye would be pretty cool. Maybe, maybe his eye receptors get damaged and he, he has trouble catching Leon later. But it staggers Mr. Beast, I mean Mr. X, enough so he doesn't choke Leon to death. You see how much better it is than Leon just doing nothing and being saved? I think it's better. Another thing, Leon has no development. Oh, but he changes so much between Resident Evil 2 and 4. Yeah, he changes, he doesn't develop. The difference is, with development, we see everything that causes him to change. With character change, we don't. Imagine if you only saw season 1 of Breaking Bad and season 5 of Breaking Bad. Would you really say Walter White develops when you only see the final Heisenberg form of him and the pussy bitch season 1 form of him? I think you wouldn't say that he develops. You would say that he just switches. And I know about Dark Shit Chronicles or whatever, but barely anybody plays that unnecessary lore slop. We are talking about mainline games here, the ones that matter the most, the ones that are the most popular. A core issue that causes it to be this way is that most Resident Evil games take place during like one day. I don't know why Capcom does this. I really don't know. Are they stupid? But in one day you can still give someone development, and you could really do this in RE 2. Leon should be impacted by the deaths of people he tries to save. Robert Kendo, Marvin, he also thinks that Ada dies, but it really doesn't seem like they impact him at all. It is once again cosmetic sadness. I am not really blaming them for not doing a lot of development in Resident Evil 4 though, since it's pretty difficult to give development to pretty much an already hardened character. Leon also lacks a moment where he's powerless, where someone takes the choice from him. He almost always has the upper hand. He never gets like captured, he never gets held captive. He always he always just has the choice to do something, and it really seems like he dominates all of the time, which is bad. Something you can notice is that a lot of these problems originate from one singular massive issue. Leon does not really decide about anything, which makes him a bad character because we don't really know his character. Of course, he's cold and kind, but what would he choose in a moment of shock? What would he do if someone doesn't want to be saved? What would he do if he had to choose between one and another? That is real character. What would he do if he was tasked with killing someone who is a civil, who is innocent, who is problematic to no one but the DSO, maybe spreads anti-DSO propaganda? All the problems I've mentioned pretty much come up with their own fixes once you fix this one major issue. Once you learn that a character has to do stuff that changes the story, but the Capcom writers, they will never learn ever since RE1. couldn't come up with a good story, and they get to be popular? What a sick joke! Yeah, sub if you like the video, don't if you didn't, and write a hate comment to boost the algorithm if you don't agree with me. See ya, see you later.